Good morning, everyone. Hi, Mila. I see you in there in the chat, ready to go. Good morning, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're just going to give everybody a couple of minutes to kind of get into the room. As you can see, I am working from home today because the LAER offices are closed, but we thought this was important enough for you guys to still view it because we wanted to make sure that you were able to hear from Harriet Offerman. I did not want to delay this at all because she's awesome, and I think we're going to have a great time today.
Thank
And
you.
without further ado, I will introduce you guys to Harriet Offerman. You all know her. Say hi, Harriet.
Hi. Hi.
Harriet, we'll just get started right away. Harriet, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Hi, Amila said hi as well. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and just let's start at the beginning. What got you into real estate?
When I moved to Florida, I was unable to get a job. When I lived in New York, I was a teacher and a guidance counselor, and I had a fantastic part-time 2-day-a-week job. When I came to Florida with 2 young children, they told me I was overqualified and they couldn't afford to pay me because I had 5 years full-time experience and a master's in guidance and counseling. So there I was at home with nothing to do. And I thought, well, I'll take the real estate course at night because I was bored and I loved looking at houses. So that's what I did. And I took the course 2 nights a week for a couple of months. I came home the first night and my husband said, well, how was it? I said, it was horrible. I thought they were going to show pictures of houses and all they talked about was the law. And he said, well, what are you going to do? I said, well, I paid my money. I can't get my money back. It's going to be better next time. When I came home the next time, he said, how was it? I said, it was worse than the first. He said, well, now what are you going to do? I said, well, I guess I should finish because I paid. I might as well. So that's what I did. But I really had no interest in doing real estate as a profession at that time because I had 2 young children. They were 2 and 7 years old. And I waited a full year to actually take my license exam and get licensed.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
that was an
amazing.
experience because I went to work for a broker who was my neighbor, who was divorced and wanted me to come work with him. And I said, well, I can't. I said, I have 2 young children. My husband has a job. I don't really need to work. He said, oh, come work for me. He said, I have 2 young children. I'm divorced and I take all my children on my appointments with me. And if they're good, I give them ice cream. So stupid me did that on my first appointment. I took a 2-year-old on a listing appointment and they fed him cookies and milk all night. And I thought, oh my God, how I ever got the listing, I have no idea, but I'll never do that again. It wasn't fair to my son and it wasn't fair to the people. So that's how I got started.
That is very cool. And to be honest, what better field now in hindsight to transition from than literally teaching and counseling? Because you still actually do that with adults, though. So,
I do. I do. It's true. But I don't flaunt it and don't tell them that.
no, I won't, but it's still good. It's still really good to know. So tell me a little bit about the start of your career. Now you're in real estate, now you've gotten everything going. How did you, because I feel like the biggest thing for new agents and the hardest thing for them to do is to get over that hump of figuring out how do I manage my own business? How do I start growing my business? How do I get in production? How did you get over that hump?
I think the first thing that you have to do is decide who is your base, who are people that you're going to be comfortable with, who will be comfortable with you. And when I started by knocking on doors in Royal Palm Beach, although I lived in Wellington, but I started there and I didn't achieve any success because the community at that time in that area mostly had retired seniors and they were all very nice to me. They would invite me in for coffee and talk to me, but I knew I'd never get any business from them because to them, I wasn't their equal or I wasn't relative. relevant to them. I was like their children. So very quickly, I transitioned to Wellington, which was a new community. This was in 1977. It was a new growing community with a lot of young families like my family. And I started by knocking on doors. I don't know that that would be successful today, although I know at least one agent in our company who does it very successfully. The last time I started knocking on doors was about 10 years ago, and it was not productive for me because people invited me in and wanted to give me coffee and talk to me, and I didn't get very far in 2 hours. I don't think I hit too many houses. But be that as it may, that's how I started. I even remember at one point I had a lady chase me down half a block away from her house, and she said, come back, I want to sell my house. So I think it could be successful for some people, but I think the main thing is decide who are people that you're going to relate to. And I think for new people, the first thing is don't spend a lot of money. I think everybody feels they have to spend a lot of money, and I don't think that's true. I think start by making a list of people that you know, people that you think would be responsive to you, join organizations that will have people that you can relate to. I was very involved with the Chamber of Commerce and very involved with American Businesswomen's Association. Got a lot of business from that. I also got a lot of business from the school. One of my clients was the president of the PTA. So I think in that way, you can narrow down how you spend your money and how you spend your time.
I think that's really cool to hear because it's one of the things that we repeat to newer and even tenured agents is to reach out to their sphere of influence. And it's so nice to hear it from a very successful agent because I believe that people don't think that it will work. And clearly it does work to work within your sphere of influence and talk to the people that you know. You shared that you were part of a lot of organizations. Tell me how that happened and why you decided it was a good idea to join to begin with.
I felt it was a good idea because I would meet other business professionals. And I always made it a point at the chamber luncheons, which I always attended, to sit next to a new person. I never sat with the same people twice. And I always got business from that organization. And the same thing, well,
Right.
the American Businesswomen Association, ABWA, was a much more informal organization. And I became the president of that chapter out here years ago. And I got a lot of business from that. So I think that those were two organizations that I felt I could make a difference in the community and also would benefit me.
I love that because I'm hearing some of the things that we talk about all the time in real estate, which is like becoming a part of your community, becoming a resource within that community, and be like just being a community member and making friends and making natural organic connections. I agree with you. I do think a lot of people want to start out real estate and they want to do it big and splashy because they've seen it on HGTV. And that's not really how real estate regrettably works. My other question is, so we're in a little bit, or we're kind of coming out of a weird market right now. And I know you've been in real estate for quite some time. So you've seen quite a few market fluctuations. How do you survive different markets? What is your tried and true way of doing things that has made you thrive in real estate for over 40 years?
I think the most important thing is, of course, giving good service to people, because if you don't do that, you're never going to get any repeat business. And at this point in my career, I would say probably 95% of my business is either repeat business or referral. And you don't get that if you don't give good service. And there are many ways to stay in touch with people. First, you have to start out before you get that referral business, but always ask for the referral. When you finish a transaction, I always ask for a testimonial. I used to send out letters I used to rely a whole lot more on the US Postal Service. I don't do that anymore. But I don't negate that. I think for people who are newer, there's still a benefit to that because I got business from Just Listed, Just Sold cards. I just don't think it benefits me at this point because just as someone new has to decide where they're going to spend their time and money, I have to decide where I want to spend my time and money. And for me, just as I started out with young families, I don't think that's my group of people anymore that I can relate to. I don't have young children anymore where there would be that connection. However, I'm getting the grandchildren of the original families that I work with. But for me right now, so I've transitioned from young families to seniors and to past clients. And that's where my focus is, on past clients, staying in touch with my past clients. When I started out, I did a newsletter that was sent out quarterly, the Offerman Report. It was sent out quarterly. When I didn't send it out, people got really upset. One year I sent out a pre-programmed newsletter and I got calls from people. I don't like your newsletter. I like to hear what you write yourself. And I always had a section for recent sales. I had a section for recipes. I had a section for predictions. I had a section for interest rate. However, you don't do that anymore. You don't need to put in recipes. People look online.
Yes.
It's sort of outdated. But I did that for years. I wrote a column for the town crier every other week for years. And I got a lot of business from that. I sent out anniversary cards through the mail, the anniversary, 1 year anniversary of your purchase. Now I do it by email with a site called Jackie Lawson. So I have changed in the way that I stay in touch with people, but I think it's very important. Also, even though I'm not friends with all of my clients, there are some clients that I've had over the years that I feel connection with as a friend, and I will frequently go out to lunch with people. So there are various ways that you can stay in touch. The one thing that I've never done that I know other realtors do is have a party for your past clients. Never done that because my husband has been insistent that he wants a separation between our lives and our business. I do think, though, that is something that would be good for some people to do.
There's a couple of things that you said, and we have a question in the comments because you said that you shared some really good nuggets that I myself had not considered before. One of them being that you continually reevaluate where you are and who your base is based on where you are in your own life, it's something I never considered before because I think a lot of the time when people think base, they think of something that's static and doesn't move. But you're saying you move your base based on where you are in your own life, which is very cool, especially for our more tenured agents whom for their original base may no longer be working for them. It might be a good idea, to Harriet's point, to reevaluate, well, maybe that's not my base anymore because I don't relate to them anymore. Very, very cool. Mila in the comments asks, from your experience, how long does it take to get a business since you join a community? Oh, I get it. She's asking, how long after you embedded yourself in a community or organization did it take you to start seeing like the rewards of being there, to start getting business from that organization or that community?
Honestly, I don't remember because it wasn't something that I was doing only for the purpose of getting business. It was a combination of social and a combination of what I could do for the community. So I don't remember, but I do know that it did result in a lot of business. I can tell you that when I started, it took me 3 months before I got my first contract. So for people who are starting, don't expect it to happen overnight. It's something you have to build on. And the first contract I wrote was for a piece of land in Royal Palm Beach, and I wrote the contract on the hood of the builder's car.
That's well, now we're kind of getting back to that point where we need paper contracts, right? Because we kind of
Yes.
got away from that. But now everybody should have paper contracts on them, especially on the buy side. For sure, 100%. I also think that it is really cool because you talked about instead of it being a timeline, you weren't really thinking about being in the community for amount of time equaling when those transactions started to come in because you were more focused on just being a part of the community and being a resource within there. What are some of the things that you have learned over time that you still do to this day in real estate? I love that you talked about staying in contact, but I'm sure there are some things that are just par for the course that you do every single day that keep you successful. Can you share some of those?
Well, I wish I could tell you honestly that I do these things every single day. I'm not as consistent as I used to be. That's honest. But I'm also at a different stage in my life where I don't choose to be as consistent every single day. But the things that I did were always to call people on the phone. Always, I was very detailed about staying in touch with clients. And I did work with my husband for about 30 years. I found that when I was in real estate after a couple of years, that I needed help. I needed an assistant. We didn't have the internet then. And there were a lot of things that needed to be done. We needed to go personally and pick up keys to open up houses. We didn't have lock boxes. Um, we didn't have flyer programs that you could do on the internet. We had to have somebody do the flyers. So I always had an assistant. And it became an office joke because I had two assistants and they both quit and I listed their properties. And the joke was Harriet is so hard up for listings that she has to hire an assistant to get the listing. And of course, the third person I hired, she eventually left too. I listed her house and sold it. But I was always good about following up on things. The things that I'm not as good at are probably as a result of I'm not as techy as new agents. The things that I would like to do is every week just put something on the internet or something to send to my clients, and I don't do that. But I
Mhm.
don't choose to hire somebody to do that at this point. But I know that that's something that's very important to stay in touch with people. And whenever I used to make a phone call, almost inevitably I would get some business from it. So I'm not saying necessarily cold calls, but call people who you might have some contact with in business, a past client, something. And it always makes me feel good because you like your clients. So when you
Yes.
call them, they're happy to hear from you.
Oh, I love that. It seems like you have created a business that is based on organic connections with people, and you're able to kind of continually rely on those connections with people in order to keep your business going. My other question really was going to be more so about if I were starting today as a realtor, or I was restarting as a realtor, got my license 4 years ago, sold a couple of houses. What are the three things that you recommend that I do right this second?
First thing I would do is sit down and make a list of 100 people that you know who you think might work with you or might know people who might work with you. And then I would get on the phone and I would call every one of them, call a couple of them each day and say, hey, I'm in real estate. How are you? And let them know what you could do because people like to do business with people that they know and like. And I think people like to give new people a break. And if that becomes a problem and they say, well, you don't have any experience, team with somebody, partner up with somebody. And there are a couple of people in our company who have done that with me, and I'm glad to help them.
Oh, that's wonderful. And that is such a key thing that I think most people, no matter of tenure, don't necessarily like really realize is that people want to work with people that they know and they like. It's funny because I will say newer agents, 5 years and less, a lot of the time will avoid at all costs calling people that they know, which is absolutely insane to me, to your point, because people want to work with you if they know you, if you're their neighbor, if they're your friend, whatever the case is, they want to give you a break. So I think that is really awesome.
And I think also when you call them, other than asking for business, you
Yeah.
might want to share something with them that's pertinent to the market, like the interest rates are coming down, something that has value to them. You might start a newsletter online. We have the LAER report newsletter that comes out monthly. You might want to do that and make sure you have everyone's email address. I'm finding that very hard because many of the old email addresses I have are no longer valid because I've had them for
Mm.
years. Same with their phone numbers because a lot of people have canceled their landlines and they're all on mobile phones. So when I call them, I'm sometimes not able to reach them.
Yes.
So for somebody starting out now, make sure you have a very good contact base. I use one, and if anyone is interested in it, the name of it is Realty. I'm trying to think of the name of it. It's not Realty Express, but I will be glad to give you the the information, and you'll get a discount on it.
Oh, that's awesome. I think my one of my last questions for you is, now that we have this new buyer thing going on as of the 17th of August, and now that we have to approach buyers differently, A, do you work with buyers that often? B, if you work with buyers in the future going forward, how would you go about handling the new changes that have just been made when you talk to them?
That's a very good question. I haven't really come to grips with how I'm going to do that because I don't work with too many buyers. I partner with someone in our office most of the time with buyers. However, it's my contact that is the important relevance initially because I'm the contact and I'm the one they speak to rather than I'm not generally the one taking them out to show the properties unless it happens to be my listing and it's close by. But it's me that they're working with. And I've been pondering that. Initially, my first response was that if somebody has to sign as a buyer a form, why would they want to do that? My initial reaction was that they might just go directly to the listing agent and have the listing agent handle the entire transaction. I think, unfortunately, that might result in the lowering of our commissions. I don't know. I found working with one buyer now, although I've not taken that buyer out, the buyer has said to me, person who represents themselves is a fool. So that's one response.
Yeah.
I think it behooves the listing agent to do a good presentation and to stress the benefits of offering to compensate the buyer's agent. And I have found success with that with my current listings. When I've explained it to them, they've said, well, I want to do whatever it takes to sell my house. If that's going to be an incentive, I'm going to offer it. I find the challenge for me on my presentations is making these presentations short because I find that I'm talking too much and losing them because most people don't understand what is going on. It's confusing enough to agents, but I think that the public doesn't understand what's going on at all, and you lose them. You really do lose them. I think it needs to be a very simple presentation, which I haven't yet mastered, I have to be honest. And I think you need to listen and answer their questions rather than you're explaining the whole thing to them. Because when you look at it, how many forms do we have? It's ridiculous.
Oh my
The
goodness, it
buyer
is crazy.
representation and listing representation. It's totally, totally out of control, I think.
I agree with you, but I like what you said. I think agents a lot of the time think they have to be prepared to give a whole spiel, but I like what you
Mhm.
said about waiting for them to ask a specific question and just be able to answer it and make sure that your presentation is short and sweet. You haven't gotten any pushback from any of your listings regarding buyer
Not on my
confirmation?
listings, no, not on my listings at all.
That's very good.
And as far as buyers, I really haven't had anything other than phone conversations with buyers. And that was the one response that I got from one buyer. Um, so time will tell. We'll just have to see.
Yeah.
But I think it's very important to listen. That's one of the things that I haven't pointed out. And I don't know if that's from my counseling prior job or not, but you have to really listen to people. I remember many, many years ago going on a listing presentation when we actually had to go and in person present the contracts. And I thought it was a terribly low, weak offer. And I went on and on about it. And the woman finally interrupted me and she says, "You know what?" She says, "You talk too much." She said, "We'll accept this offer, but we want our paddle fan." And I was so taken aback. I said, I just need to shut up. And sometimes we just talk too much.
I
Another time I took people out for 2 days and I never got any feedback from them, buyers never got any feedback from them as to what they liked. And I finally, after 2 days, had no clue where I was going with them other than being a taxi driver. And I finally said to them, "Have you seen a house you like well enough to buy?" And they said, "Yes." And I almost fell off my seat. I said, "Which one?" And they told me. And I went back. I said, "Okay, let's go do the paperwork." And they bought the house. So sometimes the simplest things are things you just don't realize.
I know, like the things that are right in front of you. That's funny though that they didn't say anything. But with that, I want to thank you so much for your time. We actually have one of our vendors that are is sponsoring this event this evening, this morning, that will jump on and give us a few words. But Harriet, that was awesome. I really, really appreciate this. And I'm
My
so glad
pleasure.
that you said yes. I want to tell you, you're such a joy to speak to, because you shoot from the hip at all times, and I love that. And you're just honest and you're straightforward, and what you see is what you get. And I don't know you for that long, but I very much appreciate that. So
Well,
thank you.
thank you for sharing that with me. I appreciate it.
Yes, you're very
Thank you.
welcome. Irene, you want to jump on and say a few words? Hi, Irene,
Yes.
welcome.
Yes, good morning. I apologize. For some reason, my video is not working this morning. It's that kind of a morning. But I want to introduce myself. My name is Irene Bisenian. I work for A&D Mortgage, LLC. We are direct lenders. We have over 6,000 partnerships. So we have a huge wholesale division. A&D Mortgage have been in business for over 18 years, and we are licensed in 50 states. That's 50. So very proud of that. Our turnaround time is 24 hours for approvals, pre-approvals, closings, and underwriting. So we are good there. We have been recognized on Forbes top 10 wholesale lenders and the #1 non-QM lender in the US. So I'm very proud of that. And only a few days ago, we have merged with Atlas Merchant Capital, which allows us to grow our mortgage portfolio for over $9 billion. So that's a big, big deal. Talk about myself. I have been in business for over 25 years. In this business, my specialty is thinking outside the box. So I have a lot of specialty products. We are FHA, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, VA approved lender. However, in addition to that, we do have a lot of non-QM products. There's a whole range of products that are available. I don't want to take anybody's time right now to go over every product. But my is just going back to my experience in the business is, contact, knowing where your file is, know what's going on with your closings. It's very, very important. I would recommend, because the rates are been going down and down, and we expect them to even go lower. I would recommend that you go back to your database, take a look at the people in the last year, 6 months to a year, those who did not qualify for a mortgage, because at this point they could qualify. And the biggest thing is that a lot of people I noticed, they were not able to change their living situation because, let's say, they wanted to downsize, whether they're retiring or just, kids are out of the house, going back to college, things like that. And they weren't able to because they did not qualify for the new mortgage because of the rates. Now that the rates are lowering, think back of the people that may want to downsize in this market, and they can take the opportunity of the lower interest rates, and it would definitely make sense to them. We are waiting on November 6th, I believe, 6th through 7th. The Federal Reserves, the government is meeting again, and we are expecting the rates to go a bit lower. So, we have good prognosis, and you can maybe reach out to your clients and start working with them and thinking of the future. You know, I would like to be part of your team, and reach out to me at any time. Let's figure out how I can assist you to grow your business. Do you have any questions for me?
That was awesome. Thank you, Irene. Mila said thank you. I don't know if you saw
You
that.
are very, very welcome, and I'm looking forward to hearing from anybody who needs any assistance. Thank you, guys. Thank you
Thanks,
for having me this
Irene.
morning.
Of course, it's a pleasure. And with that, we close out the main event for this month. Again, Harriet, thank you. I always feel like you have so much more to share, and I could just grab a bowl of popcorn and sit there and listen to you talk because you're so interesting.
I did want to mention one thing. I had forgotten the name of my contact base. It's Realty Juggler. And if anyone is interested, let me know. I've got some free discount coupons. If you join, you get several months for free. They are great. The thing that I like about this contact base is that you can call them on the phone. They will actually walk you through and do flyers with you, do letters with you, do everything with you. And that's great for somebody who's not techie like me.
Oh, that is
I don't use them enough, but they are fantastic.
that is very cool. Thank you so much for sharing. And somebody did pop it in the contact in the chat as well. So that is awesome. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining
Thank
us
you.
today. Thank you again, Harriet. I really appreciate everybody, and see you tomorrow. Also, next month, the main event will be with me, Ashley Willette, PA from the Wellington office. So that's going to be a good one too. Don't miss it. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.